gosh. I just have to take a moment. I promised myself that I would start to give myself permission to enjoy the journey. Because I have spoken on hundreds of stages in front of thousands of people, alongside some really amazing folks. I've been featured in a bunch of magazines and done radio for 4 years and a lot of incredible things. And sometimes I hear people read my bio, and I don't know what the hell they're talking about. We've been gathering footage for a new sizzle reel, right, for my speaking business. And sometimes I see different things, you guys, and I'm like, I know I was there, but I don't really remember it, like it was all a blur. And so one of my things this year is to give myself permission to enjoy the journey. So give me a sec, because I need to look at you guys. And I need to remember how I feel right now, because I feel incredibly blessed. I feel incredibly grateful. Lori manifested me. No, I manifested this moment. I did meet Lori last summer at a Tim Story event, and we hit it off. And not only did we hit it off, my 10-year-old daughter at the time was like, I love her. I'm like, really? We had such an amazing conversation. Then I talked to Lori, and she's like, your little human is amazing, right? And so I'm on a trip headed to France last July, and I knew coming out of that trip that Lori and I would be doing our podcast swap. And I read A Tribe Called Bliss, and I loved it. And I got to page 50. And on page 50, she mentions the Bliss Project. And it's just like this brief little paragraph where she talks about how incredible it is. And I wrote in the margins of that page, I will speak here. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't share it with anybody. I didn't beg Lori. I just wrote it down. And then 6 months later, I think she texted me and then emailed me and asked me to be here. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. But it wasn't even until a few weeks later that I was flipping through the book. I was like, oh gosh. I did that. Yes. And so I got to take this in. Now, I know I'm a solo speaker, but Lori, I got to sit in this chair. I want to enjoy the whole, look at this. You guys see my blingy shoes? Yes. No. Okay, I'm taking being in the moment a little too far. So, again, my name is Patrice Washington, and I'm so honored to be here with you today. I have been known for almost a decade as America's money maven. And essentially, I've lived my life with the purpose of moving the masses from debt management to money mastery. And I always tell people that, I love what I do. I love everything that I've been able to do, but I'm not here in this moment because of just textbook. I do have the degree from USC, if there's any Trojans in the house. One Trojan, praise the one, two, okay, I'll take it, 3, all right, fight on. I do have a degree from USC, and I've done all the studying and all that stuff, but the truth is I'm only here because of my testimony. I'm only here because of my testimony. Because 10 years ago, almost a week to the day, 10 years ago around March 9th, I was actually in a 600 square foot apartment in an area called Metairie, Louisiana. Okay, Metairie, give it up. In a teeny tiny apartment, looking in the mirror and saying, God, why? Why? How did I get here? How did I get here? I've been a good person. I've operated in integrity. I treat people well. So many other raggedy people out there that could be going through this experience. Why me? Why me? because a year before, I was the CEO of a 7-figure business. When I graduated from USC, my senior project actually became my full-blown business. And my husband of now almost 12 years, back then he was my boyfriend. Well, he liked me real hard. I wasn't real sure about him. But anyway, it worked out. So we decided that the senior project was going to be a real thing. And so I was 21 years old, senior year at USC. I got my real estate and mortgage broker license, started a brokerage, and by 25, it was a 7-figure business. And I thought, you guys, that I would ride out into the sunset. It's like, oh my God, why don't people just get rich young? I mean, this is so easy. What's the problem? Oh, you never thought that to yourself? Right? I thought that I would do that forever until the summer of 2007 when I found myself in the emergency room. I had taken a fall down the stairs while pregnant, and it sent me into full-blown labor. Any moms in the room? Anyone ever see a pregnant lady? Then you count too. We all know what we're talking about. I was 20 weeks pregnant when I took the fall. And I got to the emergency room and they said, ma'am, this baby is coming any minute now. I'm sorry. And after a day and a half or so being in that area, they admitted me up to the maternity ward, and that girl held on for another 5 weeks. And then there was a point where the doctor came in. I was stressing out because I was in real estate. And if you were in real estate at that time, you know what I'm talking about. The deals were not closing. My agents and loan officers, there were 16 of them, were calling me every day freaking out. They were used to me being the fix-it, but I couldn't fix anything. Not for them and definitely not for myself in that moment. And I was watching the news, and every day the banks were closing down. And finally, my doctor came in one day. She said, listen, Patrice, I don't know what you're stressing about, but I have to tell you, if you don't stop, you're going to leave here 2 years in a row with no baby. Because the year before, I had a son who died in my arms prematurely after 5 hours. And I had to give myself permission to surrender. I asked them to come in and take the TV off the wall. Don't think plasma screen, think the big box kind. It wasn't a cute thing. I need you to have the right visual here. So these 2 little guys came in with a stepladder, and they got the TV off the wall, and my husband brought me a journal and an iPod full of praise and worship music and my Bible. And I praised and faithed my way through another 5 weeks. And my daughter was born at 30 weeks and 2 days, 3 pounds, 2 ounces. And I left that hospital with a healthy baby and a healthy amount of Don't woo for her, because she's bossy. She already called me this morning telling my mom, don't embarrass us. Listen, little girl. She's bossy. She's a Leo. Any Leos in the room? I will stay away from you at the break. Don't come up to me. But I left there with a healthy amount of a medical debt to the tune of almost $400,000. Because what I didn't know is my insurance had dropped me. And so no deals closed. Now this medical debt, and my husband had been using the savings to keep everything afloat. And so by the time my 6,000 square foot home in Pasadena, California foreclosed, and I found myself in that 600 square foot box in Metairie, Louisiana, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. You ever been sick and tired? I mean, everything that I tried in that season failed, you guys. Everything. And so when I was in that bathroom saying, God, why me? Why not the other raggedy people out there? And I was bawling and snotting and crying. You ever had a good snot? You know what that looks like? Have you had a good bawl? You know the ugly face. That's what I'm saying. That means you've been through something. You understand? I was on my knees, and before I knew it, my forehead was on the linoleum, and I said, God, you got to tell me something. And I heard this still small voice. And the still small voice said, get your Bible. get your Bible. And I reached for my Bible, and I ended up on Proverbs 17:16. And Proverbs 17:16 said, "What good is money in the hands of a fool if they have no desire to seek wisdom?" What good is money in the hands of a fool if they have no desire to seek wisdom? And that was the first time it hit me that I had been chasing money my entire life. Good test taker. Good at getting the license, good at getting the certification. But that was the first time I realized that there was a difference between knowledge and wisdom. We know that, right? Because knowledge is information. But wisdom is knowing how to apply it. And what I didn't realize, even with the money, is that I wasn't necessarily the wisest. I didn't always make the wisest choices. So one of the things that I learned in that season was that I had to give myself permission to stop just collecting information, but to actually make wise choices with the information that I had. You are here at a beautiful seminar this weekend. Some of you listen to podcast after podcast. You read book after book. You take online course after online course. We love to collect information, don't we? We live in the information age. But what we don't like to face is the hard part, which is the implementation of what we've learned. And so one of my requests of you is that when you leave Bliss Project, don't just have a notebook full of notes just to say you came and you did it. What are you actually going to do with whatever you learned here? What are you going to give yourself permission to go and just jump all over when you get back home? Because that's what matters. Seeking wisdom, a part of that is knowing how to ask for help. Now, this is something that I was awful with. Where are my people who are awful asking for help? You'd rather Google all night than just ask somebody for help. I was awful. I learned that seeking wisdom is about also being coachable, being willing to get help. So when I got off that floor, I started a free blogspot.com. It's still up to this day for two reasons. One, because I don't want people to ever look at what I have now and go, oh my gosh, that's what I want, because we all have to start somewhere, right? The second reason is I don't know the password, and it was an old email address. And so it's up. Okay, so I started this free, I thought we were being honest today. It's just an honest space. So I started this free blogspot.com that led to me writing for other websites, which led to writing for magazines, which led to radio and then TV and all the stuff that I've done up until this point. And so one of the things I really prided myself on was like, man, ask questions, get support, allow people to help you. You don't have to do this by yourself. I grew up in a Belizean, I'm Central American, household where people just figure it out. I was 3, I was like, but I can't tie my shoe. I need support here. And they're like, you gotta figure it out. So I spent my life figuring it out, but then I got really good at asking for help. And one time in particular, a mentor of mine, who I knew from my college days, but fast forward, now I'm in Atlanta. And I went to him, I had been blogging, I had been doing my thing, and really kind of gaining some traction, right? And I'm like, you know what? Every time I speak somewhere, someone comes up to me and goes, okay, so do you have a book or something? And I'm like, no, that was it. Gave it all to you on the stage. So no. So after the third or fourth, event where people were asking me, and this one woman was so fed up with me. I mean, she's like, so you don't have nothing? I'm like, ma'am, I gave you my all, so that's it. And I realized that I was wrong for opening people up to this level of possibility and then leaving them hanging. Because you can only remember so much in that moment. They need something to go home with and follow step by step. So I was like, you know what? I've been blogging, I'm gonna write a book. And I went I went with this idea to my mentor at the time. Made an appointment, went to his office. I was pumped. I had a little outline because I'm professional, right? It's like, I'm about to write a book. We went. I sat down, told him the whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, he's going to be like, yeah, yeah, she's smart. This is a good thing. He leaned back, and then he did this thing where this is never good. So, scratched his chin, played with his little chin hairs or whatever's going on under there. And he's like, who's supposed to read it? I'm like, damn, that didn't go the way I thought it was going to go in my head. I'm like, oh, you mean demographic. Okay, so usually women like me and, he's like, no, who's going to read it? I mean, people who can read, I don't... what is it that you're getting at? I don't understand. He's like, how many Twitter followers do you have? This is 2011. How many Twitter followers do you have? I said, I don't know, maybe 2,203. Make up some number. He's like, what you doing writing a book? Nobody's going to buy it. What'd you do that for? Like, damn, that's a good point. Shoot. Twitter followers, okay. Sheesh, didn't see that coming. I'm like, you're right. He's like, what you need is a game plan to get to 10,000 followers on Twitter. You know how hard I had worked for that 2,203? Like, I'm doing tweet chats and caravans and all the stuff that people do on Twitter. I'm like, what in the world? So I left there really feeling some kind of way. I was in my feelings. I was driving home the whole time. And the problem with those types of moments is because if you already have experienced any level of self-doubt, if you already have experienced failure like the one I had just, kind of started coming out of, if you already have had some type of childhood trauma where more than enough people told you that you weren't enough, or that you may not quite be anything, or any number of things that still might play in the back of your head, you're like, damn, he's right. What am I doing? So I drove home feeling that way. I mean, I think I went to bed at like 4 o'clock that day. Like, my grace had run out. I was done with the day. It's like, I need to go to bed and start over fresh tomorrow. I did. I went to bed. I prayed about it. I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning early because I had been asleep for like 15 hours. And I woke up the next day with a, whew. You ever just got up out, like just woke up looking probably very zombie-like? Like, I got up with this, whew. I said, what the hell is he talking about? What the hell is he talking about? I said, I'm writing a book because I'm there when the people come up to me and say, what do you have? So at the minimum, I should have something in the back of the room. I'm writing a book because I feel like this is what God has called me to do. And if this is the next best step I can take, then damn it, I'm going to take it. I'm writing a book because I give myself permission to write the book. I didn't come to you for validation. Hell's going on here? You ever just come back to yourself and be like, what? One damn moment here. That's how I felt. And I went ahead and I wrote the book. My first book was published in 2012. My second book was published January 2014. These were self-published. My third book was published January 2015. And in 2016, HarperCollins, a major publisher, came to me and said, can we buy the rights to your second book? Because we got a hold of it, and apparently you've been doing a good job pushing them out here. I had sold over 18,000 copies as a self-published author. And they said, thank you. And they said, we think that this book should be on the nightstand of every woman in America who's having any challenges with her finances. Like, you did that. I said, I did that? Guess how many Twitter followers I had when I got my deal with HarperCollins? I had moved up. Don't leave me at 2,203. I had moved on up a little bit, but I barely had made 10,000 Twitter followers. 5 or 6 years later, I had barely gotten there. Why am I sharing this with you? Because sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to reject advice that is not in alignment with our assignment. Sometimes you're going to have to reject the advice of people who love you. Sometimes you're going to have to reject the advice of people who mean well. And yeah, they may have some level of success, and they may be doing well, and whatever worked for them, but that does not mean that what worked for them has to work for you, because you don't really require the validation of anyone else if God gave you a vision. I think about it all the time. I wouldn't even be here right now had I listened to that crap about 10,000 Twitter followers. Do you know how many things I did in those 5 or 6 years? How many things I've done in the last, 8 years? I barely got 10,000 Twitter followers now. That doesn't stop anything. And sometimes when we haven't dealt with some of the old stuff, the first person who walks up to you and plants a little seed of doubt, you stop taking action. You start questioning. You start doubting. You start second guessing. But who the hell are they? I love my mentor. He's still a good guy to this day. He's also one of the people where I was like, I always knew you was going to make it. Okay. Right? So we have to give ourselves permission to reject any advice that is not in alignment with our assignment. I needed to pray. I needed to go to sleep. I needed to check my heart. I needed to check my motives. And I needed to remind myself of who I was and what I heard. I can't tell you how many times this has come up for me. Again, in 2014, right before the second book came out, we're talking to like some consultants. People were supposed to be helping me, get my brand together, right? And they're like, you're a finance person, and you really should consider maybe doing more of like power suits. The hell? Power suits. I'm like, okay, power suits. So they suggested I get these suits. They were like black or, dark brown, navy, real finance-looking stuff, because I want to be professional. I want to look like a finance person. So I went out and I got a few power suits. Then I'm in Atlanta, where it gets cold all the time. That hot Atlanta stuff is foolishness. It gets cold in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta, and people are like, how do you wear a suit with no stockings? You need pantyhose. Right? She said, ugh, right? So I'm from California. I grew up here. We don't really wear pantyhose. So I go to CVS or some drugstore. I don't know. You guys get them from classier places? I don't know. They said, it's like, okay, stockings or pantyhose. So I go to get some pantyhose that go with my power suit, and they're these very opaque. You know what I'm saying. Opaque. There's these thick thing with control top and little stuff on the toes. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? You guys don't wear pantyhose. You don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, good. Don't start. So I have my power suit, my pantyhose, and I go do this presentation, and the guy is giving me feedback and critiquing. Now, mind you, if you couldn't tell by now, like every once in a while I like to do a little joke or something. It's just who I am. It just comes out. It's not like an intentional thing. But I have on this power suit and my pantyhose and these damn pumps. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the pumps. Oh, nothing like this. Oh, no. They told me to get some pumps. They were a little round-toe kitten heel. It's a little round-toe. Lori, I look like a damn hot mess. So I had my power suit on, my opaque pantyhose, not in my color because they didn't have chocolate. So I went with the next best thing. It was like a tan. You guys get this visual? Oh, because this was a mess, okay? And I have my pantyhose on. I do the whole thing. I'm a bit uncomfortable, as you can imagine. But, I do my thing. I'm still kind of funny, but I could tell the audience is like, I don't know how I want to like her. This suit is throwing me off. These tan pantyhose, or I want to like her, but it's something that doesn't seem genuine. So I do my whole thing, and the guy sits down with my husband and I. He's giving us a little critique, and then he goes, because I like a good statement necklace. You see it. See what it is. No. So I always either like big earrings or statement necklace. He's like, you know what? You're just a little distracting. Like, I thought you were good, but if you could just get some pearl earrings and a little pearl necklace. Sit down. Power suit, pantyhose, kitten heel pumps, and now he wants me to get pearls. So I went to Macy's, got the best pearl set I could find. And so for the next several months, I went around with this costume on, trying to fit into this personal finance box. And then one day, I woke up, and I said, to hell with this. I'm not gonna put this power suit on, or these pumps and pantyhose and pearls. I don't know why pearls is like something you have to be very delicate with. Even if they're fake from Macy's, it's still a pearls at the, I said, I can't do this anymore. If I have to keep doing this, then I don't want it. Like, I'm unhappy. I thought that this is what God called me to do. I felt like this was my gift. How many of you know that sometimes you can use the right gift in the wrong ministry? Do you know sometimes you can be using the right gift in the wrong industry? You can be using the right gift with the wrong audience. And the problem with that is you mess around and start to question whether that's your gift. You felt it, girl, yes. It's true. Sometimes you might be using the right gift, and because it's in the wrong place, you start to question it. And I woke up questioning, like, man, is this what it's going to be? I don't want to do this forever. I had a 7-figure business and never wore a damn power suit, so what am I doing this for? These little blog posts, only $250. Like, what are we doing? Why would I do this? And I went on Facebook, and I made a post and said, whoever could meet me at this Starbucks on the corner of this street in Austell, Georgia, you can have all these damn power suits and kitten heel pumps. I'm waiting for it to come up on my memories right now. I'm serious. And people met me there, and whatever they didn't come take, I just gave to Dress for Success. I learned that I would have to give myself permission to step out of the box that I had allowed other people to put me in. And sometimes it's not even the box that we allow other people to put us in, it's the box that we put ourselves in. Because I thought to be a powerful voice in personal finance, I needed to look the way it had always looked and do what folks had always done and dress how people had always dressed. And the truth is, when I gave those suits away and I went back to my type of pumps and I went back to my statement necklaces, I felt so good, and I realized that, you know what? I'm not for everyone, and that's okay. There is more than one messenger out there for every message. And people who are supposed to find you will find you. People who are supposed to connect with you, they will connect with you. People who are supposed to adore you, they will adore you. And people who sit down while everybody else is doing the wave, have fun. But that just means I'm not your person. And I'm good with that. I had to give myself permission to be good with that. Because I spent too much time from my childhood feeling ugly, feeling unwanted, having so much self-doubt. I literally grew up thinking that I was the ugliest person in my family because people in my family told me that. I literally grew up as the blackie and the darkie because so many people in my family would make comments about my skin color, or my lips were too big, or my nose was too flat, or my eyes were too weird, and it was always something. And then you put that with going to school. Oh, God. Going to school where I was always the tallest girl. You guys, I've looked like this since I was like 13. You're laughing. This is serious. This is serious business. 7th grade. This is how I look. Just like this. Just a tad skinnier, but just like this. So I look like this the whole time. I'm taller than the boys. So I used to kind of, you know, where my tall girls at? I'm talking about how you lean into the picture so you could like be in a line with everyone else. You know what I'm talking about, right? Then I was super skinny, so I would put on extra clothes because I wanted to have a little junk in my trunk. I didn't want to be too skinny. So I look at pictures now from high school, and this is what I look like between not liking to smile, thinking I was too tall, and that I was too skinny. I had on all this clothes, all this stuff. This is what I look like. I'm trying to be their height, right? I don't want to smile, so. Oh, and when 9th grade, when I discovered boys and I was trying to be sexy like my friends, this is what it was. I look at those pictures now, I'm like, where were my parents? Like, why did no one come and get me? Why? And I felt extremely ugly. I remember being a little girl scrubbing my skin in the bathtub, hoping something would be under there, something else. There's so many things that I went through. So imagine, by the time you do all of that, I was 25 years old before I could look in the mirror and not cringe. I was 25 years old before I could look in the mirror and not wish that I was someone else. Not wish that I looked like one of my cousins or had my brother's skin color or his hair. I was 25 years old. And the only reason I was able to do that at 25 is when I finally gave myself permission at 22 to go sit on someone's couch and deal with some of my childhood trauma. And stop accepting that this is just what it is. And this is how it's always been. And that's just how they are. And doing that gave me the permission to forgive people who would never say they're sorry. It gave me the permission, right, to know that I was beautifully made. I was created in God's image. And anyone who did not like that or was intimidated by that or was annoyed by my anointing and trying to keep the rest of me down and depressed, screw them. Screw them. And I share that as my last point because I just want you to know that sometimes, you guys, we got to give ourselves permission to heal those past hurts. Because I work in finance, as you know, but my focus is financial psychology. And what I do know to be true is that we can chase all the degrees and all the businesses and all the raises and promotions, and we can keep looking for that next thing and that next thing and that next thing, but it will never fulfill us if we don't feel it in here. It'll never fulfill us. And so my encouragement to you today is to give yourself permission to enjoy the journey and be present every step of the way. Give yourself permission to stop taking advice from people who don't understand your assignment, who are not in alignment with what God told you to do, right? Give yourself permission to go heal those past hurts, because if you don't, they will keep coming up over and over again, and their only job is to block you from the destiny that you were called to prematurely. And just give yourself permission to be everything that God has called you to be, because you deserve it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.